Good evening, TradeFlare family. Welcome to the nightly breakdown where we break down what happened today in the stock market as well as give you an idea of what we're looking at into tomorrow. So we'll start off with the key points, and the first key point I want to talk about is the bounce we saw yesterday and the follow through today on the jobless claims. This is key. So we saw good jobless claims data, so we saw that people are starting to go back to work, which eases the rates situation. This actually caused rates to lower as they were starting to creep up, and this is really helping those tech companies as well as those growth companies that have gotten beaten down in the recent months. A couple industries that I'm keeping eye on are the genetics and genomics industry as well as the clean energy. We're also seeing those weed stocks start to bottom out, so keep an eye on those to see if there's any demand from the bottom. Next, I want to talk about Biden and energy, and I want to talk about where this money is going to be going for this package that he's mentioning. I think he's going to release a little bit more information on this next week, so I'm really interested in seeing how these companies react and run up to that information. Next key point I want to talk about is tech and the growth. The speculative growth especially have been popping. A lot of these companies that were pricing in a bunch for the future earlier and then got clapped on the rates, and we're starting to see some demand from the bottom on a lot of these companies, so I'm watching these very closely for breakouts. Especially biotechs are usually pretty hard to gauge because they can break out without having any correlation to the Nasdaq or SPY, so I'm watching these especially in this choppy market condition. Next key point I'm watching is the bonds and the dollar, and I really think that the bonds and dollar are really important right now. They're going to tell us a lot about what the market is thinking. The fact that the bonds are moving are telling me that there is something to watch out for. Keeping a close eye on the relationship between TLT and the tech sector. Next, let's go over to the S&P and do a little bit of a technical analysis so we can give you guys an idea of what we're looking at into tomorrow. So looking at the 4-hour chart, it looks like we had a really good day, but we started to see a little bit of resistance around the 416.50 mark. Notice this channel that I have drawn here. We've looked above it and failed back into it, and then we've looked below it and failed back into it. I'm using this kind of as a gauge, maybe as a resistance mark. If we break above this trend line, resistance trend line here, I'm looking at a resistance at 417.52. If we can break above there and hold strong with some volume, I'm thinking that we can have a bullish day tomorrow with some nice trades. I expect some demand at these moving averages on the 50 and the 20-day moving averages on the 4-hour, as well as 410 to 410.50. I expect some demand there. If we break through those levels, we can go down and test the bottom of the channel. Next, let's go over to the watch list, and I've got 4 stocks that I'm watching going in tomorrow, and one of them is Ford. And we got contracts towards the end of the day, towards the last few minutes, and we're getting these off of the Biden continuation and the Ford F-150. So Biden's kind of pumping them up on Monday, and we've got the electric Ford F-150 that's coming out, and with the EVs hitting kind of a bottom and getting some bounce, I think that Ford could also get a little bit of steam with them as well. So watch this coming into this week. Levels on Ford, if we break above 12.60 and hold there, I think we can fill up to $13, and at $13 I think we'll see a little bit of resistance before we break above. Next up is ChargePoint, and this is an EV. This goes along with EV, and they're coming from the bottom. They've rejected the $20 mark 4 times now, and we're seeing some demand, especially with the possibility that Biden will be sending some money to the clean energy sector next week. So Biden actually proposed spending at least $15 billion to begin rolling out electric vehicle charging stations, with the goal of reaching 500,000 charging stations nationwide by 2030. So watch out for ChargePoint. We're starting to break above levels, and it's starting to look like a breakout. So I'm watching this for a swing trade. We got a little bit of exposure today for a June contract for $30, and I think that's going to start to run. At the same time, these companies have free range to run when the rates are starting to go down, and they stay down, but when they start to go up, watch out. Watching for a break of $25. I think this will confirm it for me. I like shares a little bit better because the options are pricing in a lot, but at the same time, that doesn't mean they can't move. Next up is PayPal, and we've been mentioning this, and they had a nice 2.5% today, and they're starting to get some energy and starting to get some momentum. So watching them into the end of the week. The correlation with tech is strong, so watching them. I'm using the 50-day SMA on the daily as a gauge to if we're breaking out tomorrow, so watching that. Watch Illumina and the genetics companies. They're all pulling back and close to their 618 retracement mark, which is considered deep support, and this is where long-term investors really start to buy in. The cool thing about these big biotechs is that long-term investors will not ignore their long-term value and the fact that they have potential for growth and massive growth. These contracts can jump a lot too, and so can these stocks, especially if there's any news, and we haven't really heard a lot of biotech news recently, so watch out. Next, over to the back burner, and first on the back burner I've got Wells Fargo, and I'm looking at this 45.50 mark as a support line, and we have puts, so we're trying to take advantage to the downside. I want to see if this continues to lead to the downside, so watch this. Next up is UWMC, and a lot of people are talking about this, and I think that this is a decent play off of the real estate tomorrow. We have PMIs tomorrow, so this could run, so watch this. Watch Snap, they had a really good day, up over 5.5%. See if we can break above 57.96 and fill that gap all the way up to 59, so watch that. Watch Apple, we missed our day trade opportunity today, but we still have more, so I'm really closely watching this and tech because there's a lot of strength in that sector. Watch Mind Medicine, I'm hearing a lot about this one, and I think that this one could pop tomorrow, so I'm watching this very closely in the morning and watching the option chains and everything. Watching Enphase Energy, and they've had another crazy day today, up over 8%. This could keep breaking out, or I would like to see it come back and retrace itself a little bit. If we see a nice retracement, that's where I'd like to enter and get a little bit of exposure into this industry. Watching AbbVie and healthcare, I think that healthcare looks really good going into the end of the week, so I think it poses a nice opportunity watching them. Watching Palantir, their volume is really slowed down and they didn't really move today, so I'm interested to see if they even hold up. Watch them. And that wraps up tonight's nightly breakdown. If you got value out of tonight's video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss any content that we release in the future. And we are not financial advisors, nor do we claim to be. The stock market is risky and you could lose money. None of the information in this video is financial advice, and all of it is to be used at the sole discretion of the viewer. And remember, time is your most valuable asset, so quit wasting it. Get up, get out, and go get it, my friend.